Coming up tonight, another loss for the Progressive Liberal Party and the country. This as former Minister of Health Dr. Perry Gomez passed away this afternoon. Plus, drama unfolds at the PLP headquarters as a candidate is chosen for the upcoming by-election, leaving supporters of former Minister Shane Gibson very unhappy and very vocal. We have the recap. And later, music lovers, this one is for you. Our Jean Joseph has highlights from a recent evening of jazz in tonight's arts and entertainment segment. Those stories and more as Our News Weekend starts now. This is Our News Weekend. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm Megan Shepard. Former Member of Parliament for North Andros and the Berry Islands, the Right Honourable Dr. Perry Gomez, has died today. Prime Minister Philip Davis issuing a statement calling Dr. Gomez a giant in public health, adding Dr. Gomez's life epitomized the very spirit of selflessness, commitment and passion for the health and well-being of our people. Party Chairman Fred Mitchell telling Our News this afternoon that Dr. Gomez made significant contributions to this nation that many are still reaping the benefits of.
He was a consummate public servant, both in the public service and at a political level. Before coming to public life as a politician, he also was a pioneer in fighting the pandemic, HIV and AIDS, during the 1980s and 1990s when no one else would touch it. As a result of it, he lost much of his private practice by making that great sacrifice. But because of that sacrifice, he was able to break the back of the disease here in the Bahamas, and people who live today with HIV and AIDS in the Bahamas can thank Dr. Perry Gomez for his work.
The Prime Minister's statement also notes that beyond Gomez's accolades, which are numerous, he was a compassionate human being who treated every patient, every colleague, and every student with the same level of respect and care. Mitchell noting that Dr. Gomez received his flowers both at home and on an international scale.
He's been honored throughout the region for that work. He's been honored in our country. Just recently on National Heroes Day, he was awarded the Order of the Bahamas, which means that he's the Right Honourable Dr. Perry Gomez. So it's a sad occasion that we mark today, his passing, but we also celebrate a great life, a good public servant, a patriotic Bahamian.
Police are actively investigating a shooting incident that has left a man dead. Police alerting media to the shooting that occurred on 1st Street, Coconut Grove between Robinson Road and Palm Tree Avenue shortly after 5:28 p.m. Our news team is on the scene and we will provide further updates as they become available. Be sure to stay tuned to our social media platforms, including Our News Bahamas on Facebook and ournews.bs. The Progressive Liberal Party has now named its candidate for the upcoming by-election in West End and Bimini, but it was not without its fair share of drama, as supporters of a former cabinet minister did not take his defeat too well. Our Joshua Williams was there and files this report.
We want Shane! We want Shane! We want Shane!
Kingsley Smith, Chief Passport Officer, is the Progressive Liberal Party's representative in the upcoming West Grand Bahama and Bimini election. Smith was chosen by the party from a field of 10 applicants. The decision took just under 2 hours. Prime Minister and PLP leader Philip Davis says they simply allowed due process.
Well, the process was as planned. We followed our constitution, and everyone had their say, and the majority had their way. We are a democratic party. We encourage lively debate. We don't encourage a yes party, and we have persons who express their views.
As news broke of Smith's victory, scores of supporters from former Cabinet Minister Shane Gibson openly displayed their frustration and displeasure. Reporters then pressed the defeated Gibson for a response, but nothing. About half an hour after the announcement, Smith emerged from inside headquarters. He responded to questions about the backlash like this.
It makes me feel no way that happens. Everybody have their horse in the race, high emotions, high tension, and when they calm down and simmer down and understand what the party and what the PLP is all about, we will galvanize, unite, come together for one common goal. All right, and that's victory.
Now, Smith would have ran for this very same seat ahead of the 2021 general elections before losing to Obi Wilchcombe. He says he is aware of the responsibility he's now undertaking.
Obi Wilchcombe's shoes is one that should not be filled. You know, like when you hang a jersey on a rafter, you put those shoes on the side, and then you try to walk in your own shoes. But however, he would have started some stuff in the constituency, and so we must continue that. All right, we're not going to let his legacy die. We're going to continue on that what left in place, and we'll enhance and make our community a much better and economic place to live.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Joshua Williams.
While Smith's opponent, F&M candidate Ricardo Grant, wasting no time hitting the campaign trail. Earlier today, he touched down in his hometown. Our Italia Hall picks up the story from here.
The Grant family will be on the front line for the Free National Movement to make sure we bring home West Grand Bahama and Bimini.
It was a huge show of support outside the Grand Bahama International Airport Saturday morning as Free National Movement candidate for the West Grand Bahama and Bimini constituency, Bishop Ricardo Grant, stepped onto his native soil.
Ricardo Grant! Ricardo Grant! Ricardo Grant!
Grant's campaign began on Friday in Bimini and is now full steam ahead in West End. He says it's an honor to be selected.
Even now on the eve of what we consider to being a victory, and a victory for the people first, for the party, for the country, and for the way forward.
One of the founding members of the F&M, former minister and longtime Grand Bahama MP Maurice Moore, also showing his support.
I'm out here because the Bahamas needs new administration. What is going on now is no good, not even for today, and I won't talk about the future. And so what we need now, we need to get as many men, not half men, men like our candidate in Parliament.
Central Grand Bahama Member of Parliament Iram Lewis describing Grant as the right man for the job.
I believe in him. I believe in his philosophies. The party's behind him.
The day began with a motorcade into West Grand Bahama for a planned rally later Saturday evening. Reporting for Our News, I'm Italia Hall.
Thanks, Italia. Well, it was a beautiful sunny Saturday outside our studios earlier today. But as to what we can expect for the remainder of the weekend, well, our meteorologist Ian McKenzie is standing by in the Weather Center with those answers. Ian.
Thanks, Megan. Welcome, everyone, to our weekend forecast. Currently outside our studios, we're under clear skies with a temperature of 81. Our winds are from the north-northwest at 7 miles per hour with a nice feels-like temperature of 76. Current temperature across the islands at this time in Freeport, our nation's second city, we have 79, 80 in Marsh Harbor, 81 in Allenstown, Bimini, 82 in Great Harbor Key, 81 in Nicholstown, in the capital as well, and 80 in Governor's Harbor, Eleuthera. In the Central Bahamas, we have 81 in Camps Bay, Georgetown, Exumas, 82 in Deadman's Key, 80 in Arthurstown, Kidd Island, and 83 in Coburn Town, San Salvador. For the Southeast Bahamas, we have a set of 83s, Duncantown, Ragged Island, Delectable Bay, and Colonel Hill, as well as Abraham's Bay. 84 in Matthew Town. Rounding up our temperature profile is Providenciales coming in at 85. Taking a first look at our satellite and radar composite at this time across the Northwest Bahamas, not much in terms of activity. We have pretty much a dry air mass producing stable conditions across those areas. However, in the Southeast Bahamas, we have a frontal trough, and this will continue to trigger pockets of unsettled weather across that area throughout the course of the night and into tomorrow. Stick around for extended forecasts, and your tropical weather outlook is still to come.
Still to come on Our News Weekend, it's back to the drawing board for road users. After a spike in traffic fatalities recently, traffic police want to remind you of the rules of the road. Plus, another alarming spike. A medical doctor tells Our News the Bahamas records up to 500 new diagnoses of breast cancer each year. We'll tell you the demographics on the other side of this break.
Doctors Hospital is reimagined primary care. We have invested to improve our health system, ensuring that accessible, affordable, world-class clinical care is closer to you. Your relationship with a primary care provider shapes the foundation of your overall health. Our new, modern primary care facilities are where critical diagnosis and true personalized treatment begin. With locations across New Providence, Grand Bahama, and Exuma, we invite you to experience the Doctors Hospital difference. Book your next appointment at clinics.doctorshos.com.
This week, a spike in traffic fatalities causing renewed concerns for road safety and proper use of traffic lights and roundabouts. In this report, Joshua Williams highlights specific concerns for motorcyclists.
We do have our road hierarchy system. Our road hierarchy system comprises of arterial roads, collector roads, and subdivision roads.
A noticeable jump in New Providence fatalities in the last week, including a double fatality in a motorcycle crash and a third motorcycle victim who died after colliding with a Mack truck Wednesday night. As of Friday, the count for the year is now 45. Corporal Patrick Kemp is the education and safety officer with the police force. He attributes a lot of these motorcycle deaths to improper usage of bikes and stoplights.
A lot of times when we stop persons, especially who fail to stop in obedience to the traffic light, which is the offense, you'll find that they say, well, you know, the light was on yellow or the light was on amber. They always say that, right? And I want to say to the motoring public that when you're traveling towards any junction, intersection, and that light turns to amber, that you recognize to be yellow, that doesn't mean slow down. That means stop. Stop. If the light catches you on the amber light as you approach the traffic junction, please stop.
Police point to two main causes of accidents: traffic lights and roundabouts.
But a lot of persons, when they're utilizing the roundabout, they tend to, especially the ones who are on the outer lane, tend to continue going around the roundabout, cutting off the persons on the inner lane, who at that time might have the right of way and continuing forward to wherever they are traveling. So I want to encourage the persons utilizing the roundabout to please exercise due care and attention. If you are in the outer lane and your intention is to continue around, make sure that the right lane is clear. That is still a bad turn, but make sure your right turn is clear. Put your signal on, and then you can exercise to make that right turn carefully.
And in case you need reminding, failure to heed traffic lights and signs and incorrect use of roundabouts all lead to penalties.
You will find yourself paying a fine of $250 before the courts for failing to stop in obedience to the traffic light.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Joshua Williams.
While in an effort to minimize the amount of complaints by road users relating to potholes, the Ministry of Works is preparing to undergo a major road paving program. The program is expected to commence early next year and will be complete in June of 2025. Some of the roads include Joe Farrington Road, Tonique Williams Starling Highway, and Blue Hill Road. Senior Civil Engineer Francis Clark sharing how the ministry prioritizes which roads should be prepared first.
We do have our road hierarchy system. Our road hierarchy system comprises of arterial roads, collector roads, and subdivision roads or community roads. And so the highest priority are the arterial roads, which carry heavy volumes of traffic at higher speeds. And let me just give you an example of what our road hierarchy system, the span of our road hierarchy system is Prince Charles, Robinson Road, East-West Highway, Independence Drive, Tonique Williams Drive, Tonique Williams Starling Highway, and the Airport Gateway Road, which is JFK.
And with potholes still a vexing issue for many, the Deputy Director at the Ministry of Works explaining that damage complaints usually come in after a rainy event. He's also confirming that there are 7 damage requests for compensation at this time. He explains how that process works.
When we receive complaints, there's an investigation and it's sent through to the legal counsel, and the complainant will have to present evidence of the location where they had the damage and proof of the damage, and then it's assessed.
A Family Island physician specializing in breast cancer detection estimates between 300 to 500 new cases of breast cancer are diagnosed in the Bahamas each year. Even more startling is that they are under the age of 50. Lead family physician at Family Medicine Center in Rock Sound, Eleuthera, Dr. Zena Friend, sat down with me recently to talk about the trend and how to arm yourself for early detection.
There is a disproportionate number of younger women now experiencing, unfortunately, breast cancer. I think a part of it is probably more screening is now happening. People are more aware, young women are more aware. We're getting more aware of BRCA gene mutations in our family history. We're starting to ask a lot more questions. So that may be a part of it. There are some environmental factors and some other health factors that we're also looking to. So, the trend towards, unfortunately, obesity as well in our population. So we're a little heavier than we used to be before time, and we're heavier a lot younger than we used to be.
And those modifiable factors include diet and exercise. Dr. Friend admits that there are some unavoidable factors as well, like genetics. It's one of the reasons she advocates for monthly self-examinations. And here's how.
If women do not know how to do them, they can go into their healthcare provider and find out how to do that so that they know exactly what they're looking for. There are also some great YouTube videos about the look, learn, love approach to looking after your breasts and also examining them. And then a couple other things that we can do is making sure we get our annual physicals, making sure we're eating a healthy, balanced diet, make sure we're getting enough sleep, make sure we're getting enough exercise.
While she admits that it can be difficult to follow all the recommendations within a 24-hour period, she encourages women to take time to prioritize their health.
One of the main focuses for me this year has been to encourage women to not forget ourselves. So we're busy looking after the family unit, but we must also look after ourselves as well, because without the support beams, the roof is going to fail.
Dr. Friend also notes that fear of the diagnosis plays a big role in the stigma still attached to breast cancer. When Our News Weekend comes back from the break, they may be young, but they're making an impact. In Generation Next, we introduce you to two outstanding students living by the principles of God. And then our Sasha Lightborn talks baseball with MLB superstar Jazz Chisum. Here are the details on the Marlins' upcoming season when Our News Weekend returns. This is Our News Weekend. Welcome back. In tonight's Generation Next segment, we're introducing you to two young people making an impact in school, at church, and on the soccer field. 12-year-old Aaliyah Roll and Noah Thompson are both 8th grade students of Kingsway Academy. And despite the recent ups and downs of returning to the classroom post-pandemic, both have remained exceptional students.
It was very tough and very hard because I just started high school and I wasn't really prepared and really trained for that yet. But I had this one teacher and she helped me every time after school, and whenever I needed help, I always went to her. Well, I got a 3.9 and I only had one B in my report card, which was in general science.
I had all A's and one B+. I got on the dean's list. I think what kept me going was my parents. They pushed me to make sure that I was at my best.
And although only 12 years old, Thompson shares how his favorite subject, science, ties into his expected career path.
It's just an interesting subject. It allows me to look more about what God made, and I want to be an engineer when I grow up, so it kind of goes along that path.
Roll also balances her academic achievements with sports, as she's an avid soccer player as well.
It's very fun, and it helps me to calm my mind when I'm going through a lot at school. Last year I played for my school, Kingsway, and this year I'm playing for Renegades on Thursdays and Saturdays.
Both students are also active members of Mount Tabor's Impact Youth Group, Thompson working as a part of the social media team. Both students believe that their faith, along with supportive family and friends, keep them on the right track.
Some of my friends really help me out through school, and if I'm struggling, they're there to comfort me or help me with anything if I'm confused with anything.
Jazz Chisum had a great baseball season with the Miami Marlins this year, despite missing a few games. The team made it all the way to the playoffs before getting beat by the Philadelphia Phillies. Our Sasha Lightbourne reports.
Describing their first playoff appearance since 2020, Bahamian-born Miami Marlins outfielder Jazz Chisum Jr. says it's an experience he will never forget. The team captured a wild card spot and went up against the Philadelphia Phillies. But it wasn't meant to be. And despite that, Jazz is focusing on the positives from the experience.
That was crazy, the atmosphere in Philly, the people in Philly, the fans was out there going crazy. I think that's the loudest I've ever been in a stadium in my life.
The 25-year-old says the plan is for the Marlins to return to the playoffs next year and make it even further.
We just plan to do it again, Now we know what it takes to get there, so we're going to just get there again. But now we know what it takes to win, and we see how we got to play and who we got to play against to win. So I feel for us, we just took it into experience,
As for his recovery time from his turf toe surgery,
I should be back running January 1st, so 3 months. But surgery went well, it was successful. Foot just throbs a little bit now, but other than that, just ready to go, ready to chill with the kids, be out here with them, help them get to where they want to be.
He also spoke about transforming Miami baseball into what it is today.
Since we've got to the playoffs this year, it showed Miami that we're not the old Marlins, what was led by other people, the vibe's different, the clubhouse is different, the staff is different, the players are different. We coming out to rock every night, honestly, we feel like we really artists out there more than anything, because we come in to entertain everybody, we play fun baseball.
Reporting for our news, I'm Sasha Lightbourne.
Still to come on Our News Weekend, a musical treat, as our Jean Joseph gives you a sample of Bahamian musicians taking over the stage at the Bahamian version of Jazz in the Gardens. You don't want to miss it. Welcome back. Well, if you're still trying to decide plans for the rest of your weekend, meteorologist Ian McKenzie is back in the Weather Center to help you decide on indoor or outdoor plans.
Thanks, Megan. Welcome back, everyone, to our extended forecast and our tropical weather outlook. We begin with Hurricane Tammy, who's just to the east of the northern Leeward Islands, the Windward Islands, actually, and it should produce some squally weather conditions across those areas tonight and through tomorrow. However, it is expected to make a northward turn and then eventually towards the northeast and into the open Atlantic. Closer to home, we still have this frontal trough across the southeast Bahamas, and this should continue to trigger pockets of unsettled weather across that area tonight and gradually weaken through tomorrow. However, the National Hurricane Center, just to the southwest into the Caribbean Sea and near to the Central America area, they are keeping an eye on this low pressure system, but it only has about a 20% chance for development. Taking a closer look at the track for Tammy at this time, as I mentioned earlier, it is expected to move towards the north and eventually north and northeast throughout the course of the week. And this will be courtesy of a high pressure system in the open Atlantic and this upper level jet just to the south of Bermuda. Here's a look at your boating forecast. For the Northwest Bahamas, we expect winds to be variable at 10 knots or less, seas 3 feet or less over the ocean. We expect a low tide at 8:05 p.m. tonight, with a high tide tomorrow morning at 1:55 a.m. For the central and southeast Bahamas, light swells out there, so there is a risk for rip currents. Winds be northeast, seas 10 to 15 knots, seas 2 to 4 feet near shore, but up to 5 feet offshore. Here's a look at your national forecast. And in your extended forecast, as I mentioned earlier, we have dry air mass across our area. This should continue to produce mostly stable and dry conditions. However, by midweek, we expect Tommy to be well to the east of us, high pressure north of us. This should generate some windy conditions across our area. Expect those highs to get into the mid-80s, with the low temperatures getting up only in the mid-70s to low 70s. That's your wrap on your evening forecast. Make it a great night, everyone. Have fun, go out, enjoy the outdoors, but stay safe.
Thanks, Ian. Well, calling all jazz lovers, and we're talking about music, not baseball. The good news, you may not need to book those tickets to Miami to see Jazz in the Gardens to get your jazz fix. The better news, some local promoters recently showcased a host of Bahamian jazz artists, and they have plans to expand. Here is our Jean Joseph with more from the recent jam session at Premier Crew.
Music is so powerful that ancient civilizations used drum beats to carry messages over great distances. Jazz evolved from these primitive beats and is a unique conversation between musicians who share a common language. But with so many other popular genres, some may say jazz isn't relevant today. Well, jazz lovers are still here and recently got a chance to enjoy some of the finest Bahamian jazz musicians. Event organizers Georgette Dahl and JJ Passeni partnered with 19 Crimes and Whispering Angel to present Jazz in the Garden at Bristol's Premier Crew, featuring Adrian Aguilar and the Jazz Cats, the Central Drive Collection led by Christophe DeVoe, and Akia Knowles with Encore. The event also memorialized many entertainers like Blind Blake, Tony McKay, Ronnie Butler, and Paul Hanna. Dahl hopes to fill a void in Nassau nightlife and provide alternatives for more mature music lovers.
Just as a jazz lover, just feeling that we needed to have more entertainment, nice live, clean entertainment for the mature adults, or the seasoned adult, those that just wanted to have something different.
Dahl says the mixture of young and old persons attending was a good sign. Passeni, the self-proclaimed Crown Prince of Dunmore, who regularly hosts events in Harbor Island, says the group wants to host quarterly events.
And I think tonight shows how great this can be, how big the jazz community is, and I think that this is definitely an example of what we need for entertainment. Live entertainment needs to come back to the Bahamas.
Passeni also added that local entertainment should be a significant tourism selling point. Singer Simone Bowe, who performed with Adrian D'Aguilar and the Jazz Cats, says that events like this allow musicians to connect with their audience on a different level. Former Member of Parliament Loretta Butler Turner was one of many persons in attendance dancing under the starlight. She says she hopes more people come to appreciate the array of talented local musicians.
To be able to sit and have this live jazz entertainment, I don't think that we appreciate how much talent we have here in the Bahamas. And for me, this has been just an amazing event. Wherever there is jazz, and I know that it's available, I will be there.
If you missed this experience, stay posted on social media and support local promoters and artists, as many work towards building a fully functioning music industry where Bahamian artists stand on equal footing as their international peers. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jean Joseph.
Definitely looking forward to the next event. Thanks so much, Jean, and thank you for joining us for Our News Weekend tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Megan Shepard. Have a safe and wonderful weekend.